think you need to. Ready? Oh. Oh, there. Hello. Are we live?
We are, yes.
Let me just check. Is that was on YouTube? Oh, I don't know. Oh, can you go to the actual?
I don't know what's going on.
If you're watching it through YouTube, you need to close that, I think.
Sorry, bear with us if anybody's
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Hello and happy New Year.
I don't understand why it's not. Is it on now?
Yeah. Oh,
Because this is saying start
yeah, we'll
and
go for that then.
start again.
Well, I don't know.
I don't understand. I don't understand. No, YouTube, look. Yeah,
Yeah. Maybe you need to turn the camera on.
sorry. This is obviously all being watched and shared, but okay, I think that's
No.
it, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, that took us a while,
Yeah.
a bit clunky. Um,
Uh,
I'm just gonna double check.
yeah. Just let's gather.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, fun.
Oh, Claudia Lagrange. Obviously, that's Francois, and we're gonna admit him.
Yeah. Hmm. That was quick. I just got a thumbs up from your dad. Or maybe it is Francois the farmer.
Well, I think so.
The
He's
picture of
just
Claudia.
using. He's just using.
Francois, you are looking a lot fresher these days.
Your if you are your video and
Yeah,
your
you can.
audio is
Yeah,
on
you need to
mute.
turn your audio on and your camera. Before this gets going, I just wanted to start by. Oh, let's be comfortable. I wanted to start by making a sincere thank you to all the people who have supported this channel and supported my family, me and my family, uh, emotionally and financially over the last 5 years. It's been just over
Yes,
5 years since
yes,
we first asked for help from the
yes.
YouTube community.
In fact, literally almost 5 years. In
Mm.
January, end of January, it would have been 5 years. And in fact, I think we created the Trinities channel
Mm.
5 years ago, just after we had left Canterbury
Yeah,
with Mez, two people who were
mm.
graciously enough to offer us a place to stay. And that kind of started the journey.
Yeah, it started with activism, doing the street activism got me, um, a lot of support, and people have been really moved by that. But I think also, to sort of apply to the family, if you like, or the journey of the family and wanting to be a part of that and support that. So a huge thank you to you all, and you know who you are. Um, so with that said, um, there's a few things that we wanted to discuss tonight, and we haven't had a live stream. We bounced around a lot, and we're in a place for a month or so, and we thought we'd take the opportunity to talk about a few things. Friday night,
Well, I'd
you
like to
know,
frame it a little differently. We're with the adventure continues for us, and we're we're shoring up the foundations, or we're working on making sure we have solid foundations so we can continue in a new way after 5 years of having to do a lot of that
Mm.
that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, can you hear that? Sorry.
Our volume is not that loud.
No.
But you know what, Francois, if you were only wanting to watch and not join, then that's fine.
No, but he
But
can stay there and just
yeah,
be that's
yeah.
fine. It's not a problem. It's nice
Yeah.
to have you in the space. In
And it's
fact,
nice to see a photograph of train lines converging in the distance. Something that that a lot of people want to deny as part of reality, how things converge and squash into the distance. Um, but yeah, so I, yeah, it is an adventure, and we are, you know, very fortunate to be where we
Mm.
are, to have the knowledge that we have, and the potential for growth in a world that's getting stranger by the day, but also more interesting. I said to a chap who I spoke to today, isn't it an incredible time to be alive? He said, oh, I don't know about that, with the local accent. I don't know about that. I wouldn't want to be raising children today. And because of, you know, what are they growing into, you know? And, you know, this is part of the journey for us, isn't it? Is to be able to sidestep, where we can, those tentacles that seem to be getting stronger and tighter. Um,
Or another way of putting it is detaching from that false ego, both within and without, and being an observer and co-creating rather with our true nature, i.e., something much greater, something much more divine,
mm,
and instead of co-creating with our ego, and it does eventually come down to a choice, but it does require us to do the work to get to that point, of which I would assume if you're in this chat room or in this watching this, you are on that journey.
well, I tell you who's in the chat room right now is Ruled by Saturn, which is interesting because, you know, Andrew's very deep into the study of how the luminaries are hugely important in your story and the meta story. So he says, salutes Dave and family, and D'Angelo and DJ Emo. What's occurring, thinkers? I like that. Hope you're all well. Salutes, good people. D'Angelo, salute you. Thanks for stopping by. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind. It does help to get this video pushed out while it's live to more people, so we can have a bit of a conversation. I'm going to try and follow the chat. So if you want to drop me any questions, feel free to do that. Is there a link somewhere that people can, if they want to join the?
I'll drop the link in the chat.
Okay, while you do that, there's some interesting. I was thinking about, you know, what would be interesting to talk about, get people's opinion on, offer my own thoughts on it, and one is the internal strife in this community of people who no longer follow the mainstream dogma. Speaking of dogma, there's Dog E, which is also known as Doge in America, and it's just part of the most incredible theater that we see being played out with Elon Trump and Donald Musk. So that's you know, that's going on. That's in the world politics, and the new order of ages, which is a photo that Musk put up as Trump was elected, or on the day of his, yeah, I think the day he won the election or something. Trump, Musk is holding one of his children, and above the photo that he put on his Twitter is Order of the New Ages, New Order of the Ages. And certainly what we see happening in the world is seismic. And, you know, America seems to be, or Trump seems to be leading the charge on that, and it's got people thinking about, is Trump actually the guy after all? Was QAnon right and so on? Well, obviously, I have my opinion on that. I have my opinion on the Gaza Plaza East plans that Trump has been floating around, and I can talk more about that, and how that might be the final piece of the puzzle for a world conflagration. Shall we call it WWW or W3? Stuff to do with the AI transhuman agenda that seems to be pushing on. And then, to do with your own well-being, the food supply chain continues to, be a thing of interest, and stuff for our own well-being is, always worth thinking about. Andrea's thoughts are to do with, what is our responsibility given what we know. Love to see the protesters have been, all the farmers, many farmers putting their tractors down Whitehall, blocking, government business on one day, every now and again. And that seems to be ramping up, but we know that that's almost like the Canadian trucker thing. It's kind of like it's an expected pressure release, but it's still, the trundling machine is still going in the direction that they want it to, and farmers are not going to get an easier ride because they've gone out to protest. So responsibility, I think that comes down to personal responsibility in the system, to do with how our ego is being manipulated from childhood onwards. And so how we can seek to master that.
Well, the journey of the ego, so and how I see that playing out out on the outside in the world, and how it's reflecting back. So we'll chat a little bit about that.
Quickly, just to say hello to Nathan Squirrel Sniper. Nice to see you, brother. And Ryan of Unindoctrinated. And yeah, blessings to you all. Oh, there's the link if you want it. Hey, it's crazy, Dave, says Voynick. I like I always thought of Holland as the bastion of kind of like free and liberal and blah blah blah. Having visited Amsterdam at least half a dozen times in my life, that was my perception of the whole Holland thing, the Amsterdam, the Dutch thing, and of course it's been difficult and different over there than I expected. And you've been on the front line at that point. So nice to see you. A little bit of love being going on there in the chat room. Another soul upon this realm. Sorry to hear about your internet playing up. Hopefully you get that sorted, mate. Nice to see you. Run Ross and Bear. It's JT. Hey friends, I'm 3 minutes back on live catching up. I'll hop. Well, the first few minutes were us messing around. So I know he was going for a run. How do you get so close to a squirrel? That was Voy. So this is an interesting comment from DJ Emo. I reckon they are overselling AI. They made movies years ago to tell us what it could do, and I bet it can't. Yes, I tend to agree with you on that. I also heard Google had to shut theirs down for weird occurrences. Some say they're afraid. Yeah, well, that's interesting. I don't know what the weird occurrences are, but I have this similar sense that, AI is, in a way, is really just told what to say. It's not thinking for itself. It's so clever. It's like Wikipedia times a million. It can go and find answers. It can kind of mash them together and so on. But it's not self-thinking. And I don't know if this is true, but I've heard a lot of people say when it does art, it renders people with 6 fingers.
Yeah, well, I know that because I'm actually using that on Canva to find different images for the work that I'm doing, and I have to be very careful about the pictures that I choose because they often have 5 fingers or really weird eyes or whatever. And I just say something about the AI. I think, and obviously you'll talk more about it, is the one thing that I think it doesn't have, and that is feelings.
No, it definitely doesn't.
And so from that respect, it can't have an intuition,
Mm.
and it can't connect to something that is consciousness.
Yeah.
Maybe hive mind, but certainly not consciousness. So I think there's definitely.
Well, there's someone who won't be threatened by AI. That's Alex Michael, conspiracy music guru in the house. Says, "Good evening, fellow inmates." Yes, this is true. But yeah, so the AI thing, I also I think that, and I also think I'm not convinced that the automatons, the robots that they have, are actually anywhere near as good as what they present to us on video. I did a breakdown on that about a year or two ago, and I was feeling fairly comfortable without wanting to go into too much detail. I was feeling fairly comfortable that it's very likely that a lot of what they present on a stage as an automaton was a human being with a mask and sort of tucked in arms with a robotic arm hanging off the side rather than their own arms necessarily. And that was the earlier generation. And now I think they're using like augmented reality and clever, clever parlor tricks, tech tricks to make these next level ones. So I would to believe it was real, I would really need to be able to spend time in a room with one and test that theory out for myself, that they're not a combination of people and technology, rather than they've got machines that are so finely developed that the face muscles can move in the way that the humans do and so on. I think gross movements like hands and elbows and things like that they can do, but the finer stuff is not perhaps ever going to be possible. But just like traveling to Mars, it's going to be using the movies and propaganda to both propaganda to get into people's conscious and let them believe that. So that's a good point. So yeah, more trickery, and it never ends. And they, the reality for me anyway is that we are going to see eventually this whole thing, the transhuman thing, and so on, come into its own, in which time people will wear tech in themselves, in their body in some way, whether it's to do with needles in the arm or implantables or whatever. People will wear tech and be the tech. And so the interface will be technology plus the living organic biology. And it's the weaving of those two together is how they create their AI dream. And so that's how I see it working, is that they want us, and you see it in a way with shop staff, supermarket staff, they've got the headphone on now all the time, so they're constantly in contact with their strike rate, their key rate is monitored. It's moving and quite rapidly in that direction. And I think the elevation of this deep state agent Musk has been to create, and we've all been saying this for years now, so it's to create this kind of caricature for whom people will, who they will entrust, and we see it now with Doggy or Doge, that they're using his kind of like, well, me, I've done all these successful things, I'm great at all of this, as though these things couldn't have been figured out years ago. And now we're just going to plow into this. We're going to cut this, and we're going to use that money somewhere else. But we're going to plow into this, and people are going to go, wow, isn't that awesome? And then as they grab what's awesome, they realize, what comes with that is much greater control from an AI centrality, an AI central point. So that's some thoughts on that. Hey, Tony Whitcomb. Solid supporter of our journey. So thanks, Tony. And Ryan. And Conspiracy Music Guru, by the way. Hey, hi, DJ New Moon. We're actually on the full moon right now.
Well, actually, 2 days.
2 days ago?
2
Mhm.
days post full moon.
It's been a little bit, it's been heavy in some ways. I guess maybe not for everybody. And this is where it comes to, the position of the stars in the sky, um, how they relate to you is different to how they relate to me. So certain conjunctions and squaring and whatever might have more or less effect on each of us
Well,
individually.
and some people are more sensitive to the energies than others, and some people are less connected to the energies than others.
Yeah, 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 yeah. AI is getting scarily good at this point. I think it can detect sarcasm. That's interesting. Um, yeah, well, but I still think that with a supercomputer, I imagine that that's something that can be learned, or can be programmed, I should say, because I think that it's a program and it's being programmed to respond in a particular way. And as you, same with art and music, as you enable its capacity, so its ability to replicate closely, or sometimes better than what we can do. So um, there's no doubt that AI is becoming, and everything, from the eggs that you buy at the supermarket to the journey that you take home to perhaps um, the doorbell and watching you as you come home and listening to you in the house, blah blah blah.
Well, I think that the reality is that part of Aquarius is technology. I personally think if we're to be in our own true nature, then, or in our sovereignty, then that would be our own technology. I think we have incredible technology it has the opportunity to wake up, and so that there's that technology. But the reality is that the technology and the advancement of technology is going to be part of our future and our children's future. And of course, like with everything, there's duality. So there is going to be the dark and the light side of that. There's going to be the good and the bad. And it's up to us to choose what part of that we want to use and what part of that we don't want to use, or what part of that's going to control us, or what part was not going to control us. But it is going to be part of our future.
No, no doubt.
So,
well, and we are using it right now, some of it anyway,
well, we wouldn't actually be having this conversation if it wasn't for the internet. It wasn't for
well, according to the globe,
space.
the satellites that are bouncing the signal from me to you. It's funny, actually. I can go for a walk, and you tell people this. It's surprising how little people know, because before the globe thing, I kind of knew that we weren't reaching satellites with our phones. I had heard of satellite phones and I believed in them, but I can go for a walk here over the hills, and as I go down into the dips, I lose. If I'm listening to a video, or whatever, I'll lose the signal, and then as I come back up again, I pick up the signal again, and it'll start playing. And there's so many places and examples of that, and people are surely experiencing that, and yet they'll come and say, "But my phone's connecting to a satellite." Anyway, that's street activism level stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Um, Hi, Gypsy 2112, and leave my rights alone. I like that.
Gypsy 2112, I think, is Sarah.
Oh, hi, Sarah. Say hello to Dean.
No doubt he's listening too.
So Tony Whitman says AI gets hammered by flat earthers like ChatGPT. I mean, yeah, yeah. I had heard something the other day where it was it was telling stuff, and then the guy got it to be able basically say, "Look, there's things I know that I can't share with
that
you."
was inspired. Yeah.
It will all come through a screen, says Squirrel Sniper, but the revolution won't be televised. So, we've got to find our own revolution, I guess, and that might be just the inside job, if not on the land, and as much as you can free of the. It's funny enough, I belong to a group of homeschoolers, and someone today said that they had been educating their child in Spain, and a neighbor had told the authorities, and now their 4-year-old has to go to school. So they're gonna.
Well, Spain, it's not.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's not allowed. Although, you know, I think they're going to try and make it more difficult wherever you are.
Alex Michael is in the industry of, you know, people being sorely affected by AI. The record labels allege that Suno and Udio are circumventing copyright laws. No idea what that means. By using copyrighted materials without a license to train their AI algorithms, which are then used to create, as alleged, infringing music content on their platforms. Yeah, I know. In the art world, there has been a bit of furore about AI created content, you know, robbing people of a livelihood. And it's interesting because it's true, in my view, and you no longer need an artist to put together a marketing campaign so much, or do a piece of art perhaps that you want on your wall. You can specify that yourself, and if you're happy with it, you print it. So that's true, but that might just be like the sharp edge of the wedge, mate, because, you know, this is what AI has the potential to do, is to put a lot of people out of, you know, take them off the shop floor, the drivers, you know, other sorts of work. And of course, what Doggy is going to do, or Doge, they call it in America, but I think Doggy is better for the Trump Musk alliance. You know, I listened to. I had put myself through 20 or 30 minutes of him talking recently, Musk, and what he's basically saying is, you know, the way we're going to cut through it is we're going to, you know, put everything through AI. It's going to take away thousands and thousands and thousands of people in various positions. And to be honest, like as an ex-government person, I am obviously pleased that there's going to be a shrinking of the burden. But do I think that that's going to mean I pay less tax? Do I think I'm going, you know, it's going to centralize everything so that there's going to be very few places where you're not like linked into the social credit bubble? You know, because it's all going to be centralized and privatized. It's incredible what's happening. I mean, it's, you know, there is this, in my view, this massive privatization process going on, which is what, you know, SpaceX was really. It was like, we're going to take the money we got in NASA, half of it or a quarter of it, and we're going to shunt it onto this private company who will not be auditable in the same way that we are. And then they can just magically come up with pencil rockets that land upside down and do all sorts of things without us needing to kind of, you know, lie to the same people that we normally have to lie to. So I think there is going to be huge privatization and a huge perhaps loss of certain career types. You know, even the travel industry, so many industries have been affected by what can be done through AI now, or through technology. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but it just seems to me it's one of many areas that is going to be changed by.
I think you're going to see that in the medical industry too, because already I've seen them talk about that doctors will now just type the details into AI and the report will come out. Or I think now that they are mostly doing a phone call consultations. I know this because of my sister and my mother being in the system, that eventually it won't be a doctor that calls you up. It will be an AI that calls you up and tells you what the
prognosis or diagnosis
is, and then try and offer questions or answer questions that are obviously pre-programmed to a point, and then maybe you'll have to be referred to a human.
Yeah. Tony is saying he wants to get in, but it's a Zoom link that we've got. So
okay.
And Zoom should be available
I'll
on.
put it back in.
It's the wrong phone, I think.
Oh,
Do you want
well,
an
I can
offer?
I can do them both, but I'll do
Put
them
we'll put the Zoom in. The dean
on.
says he's not listening. All right. That AI cannot be copyrighted. Mm. AI creates fake art. So if you use AI, expect, yeah, you know what? But imagine, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Imagine, Alex, that in time, youngsters are going to grow up with their little soft, cuddly, digital on-screen characters becoming musicians. And then in time, actually, that when they follow musicians, a little bit like Japanese men, you know, I heard that 20 years, 15, 20 years ago, that Japanese men are no longer dating women, real women, because they are having much more fun with their digital women, right? So imagine youngsters growing up with digital, you know, bands that they love, you know. Um, so maybe you need to get like an AI version of yourself out there, like a comic version of yourself, because there's going to be a market for it. Uh, but I'm obviously with you. I mean, I'm sympathetic to to all of that. But yeah, it is one of those elements of this. I see Francois Lagrancy is here. Francois Lagrange, the flat earth farmer, who spent quite a few months with me thanks to his kindness. He probably didn't expect it to be that long. But we had a few months on Francois' farm in South Africa 2021. And we look forward to seeing you again. Actually, I wrote to the South African authorities this week. I've been writing to them at least twice a month, maybe weekly, but you know, to say you need to address this 5-year visa ban that you put on Zizi, you know, because if you don't know the story, we stayed there 11 months. He's on a British passport.
There were a whole lot of circumstances.
Yeah, so
one being that at the time it was we had to go into a
quarantine hotel.
a quarantine hotel, which
So
of course we were
we
not
weren't
going
going to
to
do to come back. When that ended, we did come back, but 11 months. And so we'd overstayed on his visa and they gave him a 5-year visa ban. So I've been
to a 5-year-old.
to a 5-year. So I've been trying to taking other people's jobs, worse than they are. So I've been, writing to the various authorities there to get this addressed, and for 2 years or so. And this week I decided to write them and say, I'm going to, because sometimes they reply to my message, it's an email, and they'll reply to their colleagues and say, hey, can you please deal with this as a matter of urgency? And then nothing. I hear nothing. This has been going on for months.
To give context, Francois will understand this, and if you're South African or if you've dealt with the South African authorities, you'll understand this. But South African government institutions or whatever, they are notoriously slow and notoriously inefficient. And so this is not, it's not totally unexpected in terms of the lack of response, or people can wait years just to get a passport. So it's not completely out of character for the process there. But obviously we have a vision that we would like to move forward with, i.e. To certainly start some sort of project in South Africa, and obviously that is an important part of the piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, it would be really helpful to have like £500,000, something like that, which I'm sure that we could whip that up in an evening. But £500,000, not even that much.
No.
You could get yourself huge pieces of land with buildings on them, structures such that you could, aside from having a home, offer, educational opportunities or development opportunities or workshops, and a way for people to come and decompress and heal. Anyway, that's our South African plan. So I sent them a letter saying I was going to charge them every day after the end of February.
We haven't heard from them.
So, but I haven't heard from them. Just I wanted, before you pick up on that, I just wanted to say that DJ Emo said, look up the new quantum Google turned on, they can't fully power it with the current grid, and some dimensional thing that was happening made them turn it off, which is interesting. I mean, I'll keep an open mind about that. I did, when you make the comment earlier, I was reminded about Google Loon. Most people will know Google Loon, but for those who don't, Google Loon was a multi-million-dollar project to hang balloons with satellites or receivers on helium balloons, essentially. And Google pursued that for like 5 or 8 years, perhaps, and then suddenly decided to cut the funding and they weren't going to continue with it. Now, Google is obviously deep state money, and they've invested in this for a particular reason. And they won't have thrown away the basis of the idea, which is that we need to have coverage in some areas because it's impossible to get cables in there at this point in time, and all the ground towers that you need to run the system. So where I'm walking in the valleys and losing the signal, if they had a Google Loon floating overhead at 60, 70,000 feet, I'd be able to pick up my signal from that, and I would believe that it was the satellite or whatever. So I think that Google Loon never went away. It just got rebranded, and maybe it is what Starlink is. That Starlink, they'd done the groundwork. They'd set up the basics of it and to make it work, and now they could just hand it to say, oh, we've cut it. And then through the back door, Musk can kind of go, oh, well, I've got this project that I've been working on in my toilet, and it's taken me 5 minutes, and I've managed to put up, these things, because I believe that people are getting Starlink services, and they are coming from something, so that makes sense.
We've met a couple of people who use Starlink.
Yeah, and I saw Starlink when we were in South Africa in the forest. I saw a string of lights coming in the distance, and like, wow, and people had told me that same day, oh, the Starlink is going to be flying overhead tonight. And it also was bright, and I'm following it through the trees of the forest, and then all of a sudden I lose it. It's like, well, where did all those bright lights go? And I felt like it had either run out of battery for the lighting system, because it had only been flown over the Cape Town area and only needed to get out of range of that before they turned it off, or something else mysterious had happened. I have heard, I'm not sure who to credit this with, but I've heard Dave Weiss say that he believes Starlink is probably using aircraft, because like in America, there's so much aircraft at 35,000 feet. If they've got receivers and transmitters on the planes, then they can just bounce from plane to plane and operate that way. However, not everywhere has the same kind of air traffic that North America does. So I imagine there are these gaps in places like Africa where something like that is still very viable. So I hope that's useful. I seem not to be getting, have you guys hit the thumbs up? Seem not to be getting a refresh. Let me just see if I can refresh the chat.
I might just add this in, a disclaimer, that obviously anything we say tonight is purely our opinion.
Of course.
And it's for entertainment purposes only.
Well, yeah. I mean, there have been some jokers in the community of late. I like this guy's name, Pimp. Moiled my foreskin. I do think, by the way, if you're ever questioning, you're going to have children and you want to, like, should I snip the old foreskin? The answer is no. In my view, it's one of the first cruelties that's wrought upon the the human to alter your psyche, to mess with you.
Well, I was reminded today of, obviously we know the word television, and obviously the word belief. Be alive. That beliefs become the lie that we tell ourselves.
So what's going on in the community? Just I guess you guys have all got your opinions on the final observation. That was no experiment. Obviously, you all know that. it was an observation, an interesting one, and it may have been faked, and there might have been people on our side that always knew that it was going to be faked, or that it's a true observation, and that when the observation came to light, which was a surprise, but when it came to light, it would be some kind of a crushing, thing to the whole movement, which of course is ridiculous. We're still nowhere closer to finding water that's going to curve over its body surface. So that has created a lot of interesting and angry stuff. And you know what? I've had my one or two run-ins with what I felt were attempts to slow me down on my journey. And that's since coming awake to the great deceptions of this place. So, that's the nature of this game, is that it's going to continue to try to pull you out of yourself. And like, if this is a journey to knowing thyself and becoming the Christ-like version of the self, then the more I invest in a particular element, say flat Earth, the more I invest in like it getting out and there being sort of shills and what have you in wrapped into it, the more I'm investing, the more that's my baby, and the more I'm going to wail when I discover that in the nest are some rotten eggs. And so I've had feelings and thoughts about it, but I have tried not to get too worked up about it, and to like name calling, because when it comes to what some people may have done as agents, if you like, of this game within our community, pales in comparison to what they're doing at the meta game, where millions of people are now enfeebled by the magic potion that they dealt out in 2020, so 2021, so and on and on and on. So we need to take it on the chin. If there is a 24-hour sun, and I think it's like, okay, if it's true and it can be verified, then let's consider models that if we want to understand how the lighting system works and how the system works, then let's consider models other than the ones that we've been focused on. And if it's true that it was faked and some people were in on that, then, well, good for us in that they're having, the other side, if you like, are having to fake things like that. And also good that people maybe have idols, rug pulled out from underneath them, because there's a learning to be had in that. It's like, who am I? Why am I giving so much to a particular entity or individual? It should be your own journey. And of course, knowing who to trust and having connections and so on, real connections, is harder and harder in this time. But maybe it's the old Matthew 24 verse that I like so much, is that even amongst the elect will be deceived, the majority are to be deceived. And not to be like the Jehovah's, who think there's 144,000 of them. Maybe the flat earthers also need to realize it may not be all of those that are in flat earth that are to transition for themselves to the higher good.
Can I add
Please,
something
yeah.
in? I think this will play into the conversation I'm going to have a little later on about the ego. And I use the ego. We can say the mind. We can give it a whole lot of titles. But there's sort of the false ego, or the false identity that all of us, I believe every single one of us, in fact, it may even be the journey that we're on, where we come here pure, we then have experiences that then create this ego or false identity, and the whole journey is that we come through it and find our way back to our true nature. But that aside, I think that from my perspective, what I, as the feminine, what I observed was, or what I observe in my own life, is that the outside world or life often brings something to us that will knock into us, that will trigger something, and it's our opportunity. It's an opportunity every time to be curious about that. Now, what I wanted to add to this particular thing is, and I'd written it down here, the ego loves a label, it loves a box, it loves a group, it loves a title, it loves limitation, it loves certainty, and it loves to know. Because the whole point of the ego is supposed to be that it's a mechanism for safety and for mechanical functions. I think that the government is that false ego, and we don't need to get rid of it, but it shouldn't have the power over us that it has. And that is something that I have, the work that I do, where I've had to become aware and conscious of how my false identity, based on the past experiences I've had, perhaps even past lives, has plays out in my life in the way that I live it, and how I create, or who I co-create with. And one thing I know is that the ego does not want to give up without a fight. And when the ego thinks it knows something, it wants to hold on to that for dear life, which is what I think cognitive dissonance is. It's when we're so attached to that identity because of its safety and its certainty and its addictiveness to what it allows us to be.
Mm.
And when we challenge that, and I will say that from my own internal inward journey, when I challenge the narratives that I have, I will fight. I will fight to keep that alive because it's safe, it's certain, it's all I know, it's very familiar. It might be a cage, but it's all I know. And I think that we have to be very mindful that we may have become aware of one group that or one place that we were in certainty and in an identity, and we've broken free from that. But what the ego will very cleverly do is it'll just put itself in a new group. Oh, now I'm spiritual. Oh, I'm religious. Oh, now I'm a truther. Oh, now I'm a flat earther. Oh, now we're in a new box. And of course, when that gets challenged, then we'll also fight. And all these, we see all these little groups of people, vaxxers, anti-vaxxers, all kind of fighting in their little groups to keep that certainty, to keep that knowing, because it's safe. It's like an instinct that we have that is necessary, but it's become the controller in our lives. It become the dominant. And so what I was witnessing was that some new information has been brought in that has challenged us. And instead of being able to let's put it another way, it's an opportunity for us to be curious about why is this thing creating so much disharmony for me, for the group. What can I look at within and start to look and see why I'm so attached to this thing, identity, feeling, way of being? Because the truth is that one thing's for certain, there is no I know everything 100%. The whole point of this game, or this life, or consciousness, is for us to be in possibility and in expansion and in abundance, and for us to be in that, we have to be in the not knowing, because the moment we're in the knowing and the box and the limitation, then we've already shut that down, and then that's all you can have. There is no opportunity for any more. And so when this new information gets brought, whether this is not, for me, it's not about whether it was done with ill intent or not. it's that this experience happened in the group, and how can individually we take responsibility and go, well, what did that bring up for me? And how am I attached? How is my ego attached to this one knowing?
Thank you. Yeah, and I do feel, and I've said this before, you probably thought this yourselves, I do feel that by simply stepping through the many hoops and rabbit holes and so on, simply going through those processes is not going to necessarily alter the programming of the original cage that we all come from. So, and we've said this time and again, you can't just simply learn that, you know, you've been lied to about that the Earth is a globe and so on, and then immediately all the trauma, all the, you know,
deep,
is
many
washed away.
Generations.
It cannot be simply by having that information. It's the same as if I say, and I say this respectfully, that if you've been circumcised and you're 7 days old or 2 months old or whatever, and this trauma, vast pain is brought upon you, and other bits to do with the psychology of something's missing or something's been taken away. Just being someone who knows that that was a wrong that was done to you does not undo the I'll say damage. Not a nice word, but yeah,
imprint
the vibration that was left with.
But that's birth. That's birth experience will even imprint in your mother's in the womb. The fetus is experiencing the mother's nervous system. It's experiencing everything.
Yeah.
There's so many things, and that 0 to 3, none of us can remember.
No. Now, if someone who's about to have a 0 to 3 is a friend JT or Run Boston Bear, but I'll just let Alex Michael in as he was there first, and that should do it.
Got it?
There we go. And then
hey,
there's Alex Michael, pretty as ever, connecting to his audio. And then I'll let JT come in. How are you guys doing? Let's see the comment here. Finding the truth is also uncovering the false. Yes.
Hello.
hello.
Hello, Alex.
Let me put my camera on so you can see my incredibly gorgeous face.
Oh yeah, please.
Hey.
Oh my Lord! What is that?
I'm sorry. I know, it's been a tough day. It's been a tough year. Actually, it's been a very tough life, to be fair. So expect some aging.
It's been an interesting start to the new year, I have to say. And they say in terms of an astrological kind of prediction for the rest of the year, this is the soft start to the year. So it's about to get a whole lot more bumpy. So
right. I can't wait. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, we've already had laser beams shooting out of the sky and destroying cities, and this is the world we live in. It's just I'm just living in a state of just bewilderment at the moment that I live in a world like this. It's just absolutely incredible. I mean,
yeah.
I have my coping mechanisms. Obviously, you've been around me, but it's just I don't know what to make of it all, really. I mean, the only thing you can do is look at it with humor, but it's so hard when you see so much pain and suffering, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know, I think this is where it's mad and mayhem out there, and you could like lose yourself over trafficking of little people, you know, conflicts, the needles, you name it, you know, the poison in the water, the food. You've written songs about it.
The farmers.
Cheers. Yeah, there's just so many things, and like cheers. And we, you know, and if we get ourselves like just like with the final observation done on an Antarctic ice shelf somewhere, that you know we can get our knickers in a twist over that and derail our own journey. And this is, I guess, sometimes the truth porn
is so intense, you know, and particularly if, you know, like me and you, maybe you've got time on your hands and you're like spending hours in the day looking at the insanity slowly unfolding rather than getting out there and, you know, doing your mile along the beach, or, you know, tending your lovely garden and, you know, nurturing your wife, your whatever, you know what I mean, Alex? You know, you just
Doing music,
yeah,
doing
yeah,
his music,
you know.
making your new
Solfeggio,
yeah, your new
we're excited about that.
exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
so you're right, but almost like, my brother, this is the test for us to, and I'm saying this to myself, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here like the preacher who's got all his ducks in a row, but because my own story is that, you know, like, what are we doing about it? You know, what's happening? You know, this is all kind of imploding, and it, you know, I'm sitting on a day-to-day kind of knife edge on the finances, and I haven't yet kind of waxed the ways to kind of make me fit in the system, and blah blah blah, and it's all going to. But truthfully, I know that I have to be like, despite that, continuing to work on myself more than I am focused on the meta, or the, you know, the external.
It's so easy to get so you know, obsessed, because for me, like did you call it the spinal observation, the spinal experiment, something like that? To get to just watching that whole shit show, it's like I said to my wife, it's like the most enthralling movie I've ever watched. It's just like, it's so incredible. I just can't believe some of the things that's happening, that's coming out of that. It's just, so I can't tear myself away from it in a way, because but it is, yeah. My wife just said, she's just said it's a poisonous movie, and she's right. And I'm trying, and I said to her, I need to back away from this because it's causing so much division. And I'm
Yeah.
now getting back into the garden, and I'm trying to tear myself away from this poisonous movie. And because I haven't
Yeah.
been in the garden for so long, and I've been watching this enthralling movie, the first day I got into the garden, I pulled my back because I haven't done any exercise for so long, and I've been on the couch for like 4 days. But yeah, you definitely need to have a detox, a digital detox, and get away from that crap, because it's just, it is poison. And you know, just seeing what's going on in this so-called community. I mean, I used to think I was part of something absolutely incredible, part of something great, part of some of the greatest minds in the world. We're all coming together. You're part of the resistance of sorts. But it's nothing of sort. It's just so fragmented, and it's something I've now realize that I don't want to be a part of now. So I think I'm just going to get in the garden in the morning and in the studio in the afternoon, concentrate on the solfeggio healing music rather than doing that conspiracy music. You know, I've done enough of that to wake a dead horse. Why keep on banging the same drum? That same wake up for fuck's sake drum.
Yeah.
Keep doing like I've done enough of that. So I think I'm going to sort of, you know, back away from this so-called community a little bit, and just you know, and let them have at it. You know, it's just it's not for me anymore, man.
I think what I'm hearing you say is you want to be part of the solution and not the problem. Because really what we witnessed, I mean, and I was witnessing probably a bit like Shelley, I was witnessing it from like the behind, because I'm not listening to all of it, you know, with intent, but that you know, it was like, wow, we're all claiming to be awake in the community.
And these loving beings, you know,
And-
of this
and-
higher
and-
Bullshit.
order.
I mean, I was on a stream with Santos the other day, right? He just happened to turn up on a stream I was doing, and you would think that knowledge would humble a man, but here is this man who's incredibly knowledgeable, effing and see just like it was just. You should have seen the host's reaction and my reaction. He was just blaring for like for God knows how long, just calling everybody. I don't want to say, and I was just like, how is this happening? How knowledge is supposed to humble a man, and here he is, this guy just swearing and calling everybody name, just like, what am I a part of?
Do you know what? I said this to Dave the other day. You know, knowledge is actually can be addictive because you can never know enough, and two, it's worthless if you don't embody it. So, in other words, whatever finding the truth out about the outside, which really I think should lead you to your own know thyself, and until you embody that and live it, and then you really are no different. You've just swung from one side to the other, and now you're in a new box, and still doing the same thing, because there is still a whole lot of things playing out that were still there when you were on the other side.
So what if this is like
to make it personal to you, Alex, what if this is like, Alex Michael's test to find himself, and you're going to be given a unique set of cards, and you've got to play those cards the way that, you know what I mean? And for me, there's no like negative to having walked the journey that you walked. It's more like those were the hurdles, those were the challenges, those were the wins,
It's the shadow
losses.
work, isn't it? It's the shadow
Yeah,
work. You
yeah.
have to do it. Yeah.
And and so becoming your most loving, your most I don't want to sound soft or anything, but
I
to
think
become
peaceful, the
yeah,
most
yeah.
peaceful self. I
Yeah.
think peace is underrated.
harmonious and solfegious and balanced.
Being being at peace in your body, mind, and soul, finding that stillness, it is, I think, the journey we're supposed to be on. Where that is for me abundance, really. When I'm at peace, when I'm not grasping, controlling, stressing, wondering, anxious, whatever, and I'm peaceful, then for me, then that's the place I want to get to. And whatever that means for the individual, it might be crochet, it might be music, it might be activism. It's not for me to say. We're all on our own unique path. I think that's another thing that has really come up for me with all of this, is that I think that we're all on this our own unique journey. Although we're supposed to be working towards being in unity, we are all individually here experiencing this journey.
We're supposed to be, but it's not happening, is it? It's such a shit show.
No, and the irony is that most people in the truth community will be like up in arms about being censored, but yet we've done that to each other in the bucket loads. We've been cruel on I mean, I hear some of the things that people say to each other, and it's just like, wow. And we're supposed to be awake. We're supposed to be on the journey to truth.
It
And
was
it's
supposed to be
just
the
like,
resistance. It's
wow, that's just
And the more you resist it, so the more it persists and all that. And actually, bringing up Santos, what a gem for his knowledge and understanding of syncretism and all of that. And he's really brought a lot of information to you.
He's not in a happy place. I don't think that there's a lot of stability there. I think he's losing it. I mean, it's so sad to watch, but I don't know. I mean, you can only what he just seems to be imploding.
Well, I found him in 2015. He was still unsure about flat Earth, and I watched him transition into certainty about the flat Earth, and I took a lot of information. I learned a lot from him. But by 2016, because I was on this at that point, I was cleaning myself up and trying to get myself into like harmony and balance and whatnot. And I felt like, wow, this guy's not that. He's not, for some reason, despite his great knowledge, he hasn't been able to do that. And maybe that's not his life path. His life path is to be this kind of shake the trees and what have you, and always be at the bottom of the tree, shaking it out, rather than. So I make no judgment of that, but obviously, as a man, in terms of his health and the way that he presents himself and so on, it's not like, wow, that's exemplary. That's like the gold standard. That like Ron Boston Bear will talk about. Like the Jesus, idea of being, someone that is shining a light. And then when you're shining that light, like the moths will come to your patio there, but so things will come, Alex, that are more aligned with where you're at, perhaps. Because if I can reflect on, so the flat Earth man content is going to attract flat Earthers, new and old, and for years to come. New people will find flat Earth, and they will find flat Earth man, and they will jump on that bandwagon, and they'll want to see you, doing NASA jokes and what have you. That's part of your journey. But then if you take like Black Sheep, say that, which I really like that awesome where you took the lyrics of those writings and you turned it into that.
Yeah, it's an angry album. I know what you're saying. I know where you're going.
So,
yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So who is your target? Who is your audience going to be, and who are you going to then have kind of come around you? People who are similar, like let's go fuck them all up, kind of thing. Like where they're doing all these things. So that's. But whereas if if you're bringing solfeggio and love and where harmony and stuff, that's going to resonate that
Yeah, I mean,
but this is
I see. I see what you're saying. That angry was an angry album, but I mean, I wasn't calling everyone a cunt in that album, like saying,
no, but I think what's beautiful about it, what's beautiful about it is your music is where you express yourself. So you were expressing your that shadow work,
Important.
that shadow work.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
actually, it's a beautiful journey. I mean, you
Yeah.
can sometimes
Yeah.
see it in terms of, I know for me, if I look at the way my body and my health has been on a journey, and even that alone, because I believe we're energetic and emotions, all those emotions that are in us are also energy. And as we are able to express them and move them
Yeah.
and heal them and
Yeah.
alchemize them,
Yeah.
then we will see ourselves and the way that we express ourselves in this sort of physical sense, how that manifests change. And that's how it's meant to be. I
yeah.
think that when I look at now, obviously I've got more and more into the astrology. When I look at people's natal charts and I see firstly how beautifully unique they are, we're all on our own unique path, but that there's always a shadow side no matter what, and I think that's the point to this.
Yeah, I think I'm
Point to
coming out of
this.
that now. I think I've had my angry stage. Like you say, music is my therapy. So when I was going
Yes.
through the whole COVID nonsense and I saw the acquiescence and I just saw everybody believing the narratives, that's when I was writing songs like Television Watching News Believer and I Told You So and Big Pharma, really angry songs. So I didn't need a
Yes.
therapist. I just needed my studio and a microphone just to get that shit out of me. And now
Yeah.
that's gone. I mean, I still think it's a genius album. Lyrically, I think it's brilliant. And I think it will stand, I think it's, ahead of its time. I would say that, of course. But now I'm coming out of that. I want to sort of drift away, go back, go more into the healing stuff and find my peace. But when it comes to Santos, he should have been through that stage already.
Yeah.
He should be finding his peace now, but I
Yeah.
don't see it. So I pray for him really because his knowledge has helped a lot of people, but he's not. I don't know what's going on there. But when he joined the stream the other night, it was like, holy shit! And this is a man of knowledge. What the fuck is going on? It was quite bizarre. But anyway, Run Boston Bear's sitting there. Do you want to bring him in? I don't want to dominate the
I think
Well,
he can,
he can jump
in.
in.
Oh,
Oh,
there we
turn on
go.
his camera. He's
Yeah,
listening.
yeah. I was letting y'all chat, and you're talking about
Thanks.
some powerful
Hey,
things.
JT.
What up,
Nice to
JT?
see you,
How's it
brother.
going, man?
Yeah, I can relate Alex to like pulling back from just the scene. It's quite crazy right now, and you let me know if my audio is too hot or whatever.
Perfect.
Okay,
good.
I'm in this for truth and for love and connection and friendship and that kind of stuff, joy and love. And I'm not saying that people aren't in it for that, but how some people are acting, it just reminds me a lot of high school and drama and you're a shill and you're demonic and it's these finger pointing, but really the bottom line is no matter what's going on in the world out there, I'm going to continue to want to engage with people and connect and love them and have, conversations and make memories with them because I think that's what life is all about. And really, this 24-hour observation or the TFE whole thing, I don't even think that's close to the insanity of the psyops that could come. So honestly, it didn't really blip on my radar that much. Like I was concerned for Austin and Jaren at first. I was like, oh no, is this some kind of ploy to maybe like hurt them or take them out of the FE game? And then once they actually were going to go on the trip, I was like, man, and Witz said this too. He's like, I think we're going to see a 24-hour sun for sure. Now, I've seen Dave's video about it being like technology possibly, and I've heard other people, say that it's done by the light bringer or the devil. And I can't tell you what is real or not real about that. And I don't even want to claim like, yeah, I definitely know it's not a soundstage. I know they went down to that area. I mean, I'm hoping to go there in December to run the marathon. It looks like a great place. It looks beautiful, desolate, dry. But I'm going to back it up a tiny bit. You guys were talking about the pursuit of knowledge. And for me, I want to know what the truth is and I want to pursue knowledge. I want to gain wisdom and understanding of, what is it for the human body to be healthy or what does it take for people to connect in love without judgment? And then what is the shape of the realm that we live in? How does it all like work? Well, how does it function? Now, I don't have all the answers there, but I'm not bothered by what I don't know. I'm excited with the opportunity to pursue truth because I think it's there. And the whole game for me is with a childlike mind, ask questions, seek the truth, see if you can talk to others that are chill, seeking the truth as well. There's no reason to be fighting if people have differing opinions on things. So, you know, I've I've realized, and it's kind of been hard, like, oh my gosh, like I thought that person would be more chill, or like, why is this person completely going bonkers with video content that's just attacking? Or anyway,
To that
I've
point,
seen,
sorry to just to jump in there, but to that point, Jaren, and I don't know if I should be saying this because this was a private message, but Jaren wanted me to make a jingle for him, and I always said yes in the past to all the jingles for Jaren, but this particular jingle he wanted me to sing was very, very divisive. It was for his section in the show called Dirtbag of the Week or Dirtball of the Week, and I read the lyrics and I'm like, I'm sorry, bro, I don't want to be a part of that. And he got really pissed off with me. He got really pissed off, and he assumed that I was saying no because he has now different beliefs to me. And so far as went on a stream and saying, I can't believe CMG said no to me, blah, 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 because he's got different beliefs of it. And he's like, I don't know, you've got it wrong, brother. You got it wrong. It's not because of your beliefs, you know. I'd make a jingle for Alex Jones if he contacted me. But if I read the lyrics and it was like all flat earthers are stupid, or something, I'd be like, no, I don't want to take part in that. So I had to say no to that. And which he didn't like because I've always said yes, but I don't. You never see me getting involved in divisive stuff. You never see me in the comments section like arguing. You never see me shield calling or anything like that. I've always sort of stayed back and ate my popcorn, and so I didn't want to be a part of that. And I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, it's just so divisive now that I don't want to be a part of it. And all these people shield call. I likened that section of his show to Eric Dubay's Shield Wall of Fame. That's it. Well, why is it any different if you're spotlighting your adversaries that disagree with you and calling them names, dirtbags and liars and vile and disgusting and that? It's like this. I don't want any part of that. It's horrible.
I think the beautiful thing, and JT is kind of good at that, although he's new, so maybe give him a few years to get panel beaten by other stuff. But he doesn't allow our differences to interfere with the connection that we can have, and that the energy that he puts out. And I think with you, Alex, like the energy that you put out, you can continue to be the beautiful musician and the contributor as a conspiracy music guru to the world, but you don't have to necessarily get caught up in the minutiae of all of this stuff. And in fact, the more, even if you're just sitting on your sofa getting pissed off, not even making a comment on the thing, that's affecting you. Why I stepped away from Facebook years ago was because I was in 2015, 16, in arguments with Globers, and the whole time I'm like, arguing the case for the flat earth, and I'm in their kind of soup. And so I feel like this TFE has created a whole new soup for people to get boiled over, and I think that there is a way to be in the world, but not of the world, and the same applies here in the flat earth community.
Can I just offer from a coaching point of view, or from a perspective of how our trauma and our mind works, and the process of maturation, which, like you said, JT, it's like a bunch of teenagers in the high school because actually we are, because of what happens to us, we are children in adults' body. And that's, I'm not making that about anybody. That's all of us, really. There are parts of us that are still very young because they were not able to mature for whatever reason. And, I think that what we're all learning, even through this process, because again, I think the world or life offers us lessons all the time for us to take responsibility. And I don't mean responsible like you're responsible, like to own it, to own something and go, okay, how am I showing up? How can I show up in the most loving way? Or how can I be in response to something rather than reaction? Because a reaction comes from a wound. A response comes from a mature place. You respond when you mature. And so things like learning to have boundaries, these are things that we were never taught when we were younger, because of the generations of trauma. So saying no, having discernment, being able to trust your gut when you say something's off and I don't agree, it doesn't align with me. So all these things are really new things that we're learning to do as adults, because they were never, even if you just take the schooling system where all that power was taken, we just had to do what we were told. I believe it happens before schooling. I think it happens in the home, but we stopped trusting all of those boundaries, my discernment, my intuition, my gut. We hand that power over to the outside, which is why those people who are still sleeping will just let the outside tell them what to do. In fact, they're waiting to be told what to do, because we all end up, and I like to say we hand our power rather than they take it from us. Because once I say that I'm handing it to them, then I have a choice to take it back. Whereas if I say they're taking it from me, then I'm the victim, and I'm no victim. I have a choice. So, Alex Michael, when you now can say, sorry, Jaron, I don't want to do a jingle that is going to put someone down. It's you saying, no, my discernment says that's off, doesn't align with me. No, thank you. But another part of that is we're so used to not wanting to disappoint someone, or if we're disappointed with someone, then taking them down, then start dissing them rather than just going, okay, I'm a little disappointed. And this is where the responsibility part comes for me, is like, okay, I'm pissed off. And it's not taking away the responsibility from the other person, but it's like owning my part, like what is going on for me in this moment. And how can I, once I've been with all of that and maybe felt the anger or whatever it is, the frustration, the resentment, the whatever it is, how can I then respond rather than react? And what I think we've been seeing is just a whole lot of reaction. It's like, a whole lot of kids just having a reaction to something that's really life has just dropped in, whether it's true or not. It's an opportunity. And interestingly for me, just because I have to throw this nugget in, this has all happened while we're in a Mars retrograde. And a Mars retrograde is that Mars is slowed down. And so all that Mars energy, which is anger, which is resentment, which is passion, which is war, if you choose it to be, it means that it all gets pulled back in. So all that shit that's still sitting there has been, like, life has given everybody an opportunity to go, oh shit, there's still something there for me that I can be responsible for. Now, again, I'm not saying that then absolves anybody else for what they're doing. It's really to know thyself and to be sovereign means I start to stand in my authority, but not only take my power back, but start to see how I am operating from a place that's not in alignment with the truth, with love, with being sovereign.
Man, that's well said.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. No. Go on, JT. Nice
I was
pipe.
just gonna.
Oh, nice wife. We saw
say
Shirley
quick-
there, man. Go on.
Go ahead.
No, you go on.
So- mine's short. I was just going to say, I think this is why Alex is drawn to the garden and why I'm drawn to go run and go outside, because nature itself is calming. Like if you're on the internet and you're looking at everybody spiral and they're spiraling at you, it's like, hey, bro, you're totally allowed to disconnect and go out and be in nature. And
it's horrible, JT. So when I had that sort of, I wouldn't say a confrontation, but when I heard him say on a stream, like, oh, he doesn't want to make this jingle for me, and he's pissing and moaning, I went to bed that night and I couldn't sleep. It just laid on me. I'm like, I've done so much work for him, and how dare he say that? And I'm like, what am I doing in this, in this community if it's treating me like this? It really weighs heavy on you, when you take that shit to bed with you. Just like, you should never open emails before you go to bed, like, and that kind of thing. You should never watch these kinds of streams before you go to bed, because it weighs heavy on your soul. And so I'm definitely attracted more to it. As soon as I got out in the garden, it's like, oh God, what a breath of fresh air, literally. And getting some exercise and keeping all this stuff at arm's length is definitely something I would suggest. I mean, I still like to keep my ear to the ground. I want to know what's going on. I'm a truth seeker. I like knowledge, obviously, but You know, but obsessing over it like some car crash TV, that's not healthy for anyone, is it?
Yeah, and I think
No.
we, and we all, I think we're all, many of us anyway, are on that journey of finding that right balance and holding these things in their right place. I mean, there was an argument I heard the other night which vexes Christians, which is to do with, was Jesus, the Trinity, was he God, or was he the Son of God? And so even within that community of loving Jesus Christ following people, they are at loggerheads, some of them, with each other over, if you don't believe this dispensationalist or this or that, if you don't believe this thing, then you are like lesser. And of course, we know this. I know this from my experience in Christianity, is that if you're in this church, we Latter-day Saints, or we, Jehovah's, whatever, we are the ones with the right knowledge, and we don't talk to them, and we are better than them, and we have the inside scoop and all of that sort of stuff. And actually, maybe none of us can ever know what God, the Creator, the Most High, is and intended, or whatever, or wanted us to understand from these things. Maybe we can never know that, but we can know ourselves. And so we can take any, whether it be Islam or another, beautiful kind of belief system, say Christianity, and use that to become our highest self. Then in that becoming, then you will sit in parity with someone else, even though they come from a different background, they look different, and they have a different kind of thought process. You're both in that kind of same elevated state of self and knowing of the self, and so I think that's why things I admire about JT is that he's not, although he knows that and he feels like this is an important, nugget for the journey. He's not like, well, but if you don't have my nugget, then we can't talk, we can't be on, and because it is that within this argument that I was listening to the other night, it's within that men or women are being wrought to conflict verbally, perhaps, but conflict with each other over, this is what I believe and this is what you believe, and so on, because one of the things that I've found hardest, obviously, as a flat earther, is to relate to a glober, and so I know this thing, and if you don't know this thing, then you are, you're gonna, I was gonna do a Santos there.
Don't go there.
But whereas like if like I was saying to you, Alex, if your light is shining bright, then it shouldn't, nothing else kind of matters, because the moths will be drawn, and you will be that light, and people go, fuck, I want some of what JT has, or I want some of what you have,
Well,
So
let me paint a small picture, because I think a part of what makes me so stable is because of how much trauma I've been through and healed from. And in the past, there has been serious pain. And, I said 15 years ago, I started walking a new path, pursuing the ways of Jesus. I more follow the way, the truth, and the life than Christianity. And actually, when I came into the knowledge, or heard for the first time, that the earth is not a globe, that it's stationary topographical plane, that freaked me out quite a bit. But since that was over 3 years ago now, since that happened, more and more and more, almost like a surgeon with a scalpel moving a cancerous tumor away from like the good part of the body, my religion has fallen away. So I was a Christian, quote unquote, that carried judgment. If somebody wasn't just like me and how I thought about all things, and even Christ, oh, then you're going to hell. Like, I didn't say it, but I thought it. Now I hold no judgment for anyone, because I don't know what they've been through. I don't know where they're going to be in 6 months. So who am I to judge them for where they are right now? Because I've experienced so many changes. I now want to draw close to the creator of this place. I want to make him proud of how I treat my wife, how I treat you guys and other people on streams and Globers, or anybody really, an enemy. I want the creator to say, wow, JT, that guy was really attacking you, and you didn't hit back. Now, I'm not saying don't defend yourself, because if somebody comes in my house in the middle of the night, or if somebody grabs a hold of my wife or kids, like they're going to get a vicious side of me. But if they're just slinging ad homs or fallacies or personal attacks just to try to get under my skin, I don't have to give them that power to upset me. So with all that rant, I'm saying it feels really, really good to want to know the truth so bad that I've let everything else fall away. And that's why I'm not interested in the drama going on. I don't even think it matters. I think in a year, I want to be seen as somebody that just held steady through this whole thing and was a friend to many and didn't have judgment for people who are spiraling, because
Doing
there
a
are
very good
people
job of
who
it,
are.
JT. You're doing a
Yeah.
very good job. You're coming across very well.
Good, man. Well, there's freedom. The more truth you actually obtain, the more freedom you have as a person. And then what's weird about that is, as you gain more truth, you realize that you may not have as much as you think, but it gets less scary. Like what you don't know isn't scary anymore. You're just, I guess I'm grateful for what I have been given with, like, everything I listed earlier, the food, what should I be putting in my body? As far as medicines or foods, or how should I be interacting with people? I'm learning more calm and gentle's better, and laughter is wonderful. Like, Alex, I love your music. I love the passion you put into the instruments and to the way that you orchestrate it. And I've been connecting with Dr. Steve Young. He runs the band Headflux, so it's more electronic music, but he tunes everything to the right frequency. It's all about healing, and he just dropped a recent album in the side chat. I dropped it for you if you want to listen to it. It's called the Soul Fire Mixes, and it's been amazing. I'll drop it in the YouTube chat too.
That's the Steve Young who wrote the book Fool's Wisdom, right?
Yes, yes. And this album is really beautiful. I ran to it. I played it on repeat the other day on a run and just loved
Yeah,
it.
he has a whole section in his book on audio alchemy, which obviously resonated with me. So he's very, very well aware of frequency and intent, and how sound waves are carriers of consciousness, and how important it is to put intent, let alone frequency and everything. So yeah, he's definitely on my page with that kind of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I've been emailing him. He's going to do a stream with me eventually. He's a super laid back, chill dude.
Yeah, nice guy.
We lost it.
Yeah. I was trying to fiddle around and see if I could play it, but I don't think I can on the YouTube. I don't know if that's how that works. But while we think about that, I just wanted to say hi to Gaining Wisdom, and Rory. Nice to see you, yeah, bro, and hope you're doing well out in Thailand. And Effie Viking says Jaren has been toxic for a while now. I like obviously my Jaren story is, back in 2020, going on to his show for an hour and a half to say, I think that the Earth curves far more than the 8 inches per mile squared. That Bob Nodell had invited me on to make that, but I wasn't able to make my case there. But just to kind of I know I keep saying this, and maybe eventually someone will go, okay, I can demonstrate how you're right or wrong, because everyone says no, it's got to be by the maths, the Pythagoras. This is how you take a straight line off the top of a ball, and then it's got how many meters you're going to drop down as you go away from that. But my point to you guys is that if it curved, it was a ball, almost perfect billiard ball, spherical, then the curvature is going to be the same no matter where you happen to stand. So you can't start from 8 inches and then say, well, if it's 8 inches from here, what if I moved a mile forward? Would it be 8 inches from there as well? If I moved another mile forward, would it be 8 inches from there as well? But then we'd be saying, no, it's 48 inches or whatever. Well, that's only based on that first point of observation. If I'm a ship's captain and I look out ahead of me, is the next mile going to be 8 inches, or is it going to be 600 feet, as you say? Well, it's got to be the same for the ship's captain sailing around this imaginary blob. Anyway, I'll leave that there. Nice to see Tapper 777. I haven't seen you since that festival, which is where I met Rory. Someone's comment, Rory had said exactly the therapeutic message flat earthers need to hear. I'll give that credit to everybody else except me. Thanks for JG put his YouTube for this musician, Stephen Young. And then Francois Lagrange says,
beliefs and religions, in my opinion, is the biggest gatekeeper of truth. I think the knowing thyself and knowing how intimately we are linked to the loving essence that is all that is. If we have some way of knowing that, and I'm not saying which is the right way of knowing that, but it's an inner knowing and it's your own journey. But if we have some way of knowing that, and we have some way of waking and starting our day or going to bed at night, knowing that, we're less affected by the machinations of the world out there, whether it be that you believe in Donald Trump and you think Kennedy's going to do this for you and you think Putin's going to do that. You think these things, then you're going to be caught up in some wrangling. I know that in the case of America, families have been ripped apart just by the Democrat-Republican division. People of certain colors, shades are being ripped apart, or ripped from the white, black, or brown, and Mexican thing. People are, one of the things I think about, obviously, we do care about our communities, but one of the things I think about with the building of the wall mentality out in your neck of the woods, JT, is that we are essentially, because we've got skin in the game, we paid the taxes for these roads, we don't want homeless people lying on our streets, or we don't want criminal like elements and what have you, but we are hating on our neighbor. And it's so clever. I mean, the way that they're playing Mexico and Canada and all of these things, like I followed a little chat the other day between some Canadian and American. They were slanging at each other. It's like, dude, you guys are on the same team. We're all on the same team, and yet they're finding ways to get us to hate on each other, whether it be through the flat Earth, the final observation down in Antarctica, or some of the mainstream stuff that they've got going on. I'll drop the mic there.
I also think that our connection to God, or whatever that means to us, is way more simple than we make it. I think it's can become so complicated, and it's like sometimes it's just gardening. Sometimes it's just playing with your children. Sometimes it's just having like a quiet moment. But it becomes so complicated, and it has to be all these ways and things to have that connection, and it's in the simple ways, and it is, like you said, JT, it's showing kindness or forgiveness or patience with each other. Those are the ways. It's way simpler than we realize.
So let me just interrupt for a moment, because our good friend JT has to pop out briefly. So if you get back in, cool. Otherwise, we will try and do this again, in a week or two. And it's lovely to have your energy and your input, JT. You do have a very you resonate. The energy you put out is one of loving and peaceable, and it's really sincere in that way.
I don't know how he does it, to be honest with you. I don't know how. It's so cool, man. It really
I can give you the answer, bro. I'm dead to myself. I died a while ago because I made a terrible God of my own life, and now I let the Spirit move and live through me. Now, I'm not perfect. I definitely make mistakes. I'm a fallible human. I sin, but I don't want to. I don't want to have hidden sin. I don't want to have anger in my heart, hidden anger. So I try my best to love people because I've been well loved and I've been healed. I did some great classes with Andrea, which really helped go into the psyche of when I was young and kind of do some traumatic healing. So I don't know if you still offer that to people, but it really helped me, the chats that we had. But yeah, I have to head out to pick up my youngest. But Alex, it's always a pleasure hearing you speak. Hang in there. I guess I'll say one thing to you. what Jaron thinks about you doing the jingle or not, and what he verbally says. I know it's hard to hear because, I mean, what have you ever done wrong? You've been helpful and loving and done things. You just say, I'm not going to do this because of feelings you have about it. Just lift him up, and then take a step forward and
Oh, you're
away
right. Yeah,
from it.
but I
Because,
did step in my power, like Andrew was saying, like, learning to say no, which I always say yes because I'm a bit of a people pleaser in that regard. But I did say no, and to his credit, he did say you are right. You do have the right to decline making a jingle if it doesn't resonate. So we didn't fall out over it or anything like that. I just said my piece and said no, I don't want to be a part of it. He initially got pissed off, but then he kind of saw where I was coming from and said, okay, fair enough. So we're still on relatively good terms.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks for having me on for a little while, Dave. And I'll pop back in if I can. If I can't, if you do another one, I'd love to join and chat. You guys are doing great things. Keep being a bright light in the community because it's making a difference for those that are kind of looking for some stability. So much love to y'all.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks a lot for
Cheers,
that.
JT. All the best,
All
man.
right, cheers.
See you soon.
Bye.
I'll take this opportunity to say, give us the thumbs up if you don't mind. That would be great. A few.
Can I just say something to you, Alex? I think what again, when it comes to boundaries or comes to being loving, we think it has to be that we're always kind and we're always pleasing, and of course those are really old ways of being. But sometimes, sometimes we have to have a boundary with someone and say, "Oi, you're out of line," or no, or no, that doesn't align with me. And of course, that then people will have their own, they'll be triggered by that because perhaps they were never given a boundary or whatever it is. But yeah, I think that being loving is being truthful. And sometimes we don't want to actually hear what the other person has to say when it comes to them talking their truth. I know it's been one of my biggest it is one of my biggest lessons in this lifetime, I think, is being able to hear another person's experience and also be responsible for the part that I played in it. And so actually being able to listen to someone and respect someone's decision or respect what someone's got to say is a very important part and something that we're all, I say to Dave, when it comes to our relationship, but we're having to learn new ways of being in a conscious relationship that we were never shown. And so it's all this unlearning and finding new ways of being in all different types of relationships, really, whether it be, working relationships or friendships or whatever the one-on-one relationship is, because we haven't come from that paradigm. We've come from a very dysfunctional paradigm when it comes to relating, when it comes to conflict, when it comes to repair. And I hope that some of that can happen in this community because really we're all just seeking connection, like JT said, connection and truth and friendship and
Yeah, and isn't it the cleverest ploy by this game to, if it is, whether it be that we've set ourselves on a test or whether there's some nefarious element that's trying to derail us, that it's constantly finding little wedges that it can get in there and mess with you, even though you're already so far along the journey, And as you come around those spirals of this staircase, it's kind of putting little things in to try and trip you up and test you that you are, coming through that. And so, maybe in a way we can all see the anguish that we've seen, well, some of us anyway, have seen play out in the Flat Earth community recently as just like another reminder or another little prong to say, hey, where are you at? Are you still, you're still in that sort of similar mindset that you've come from, or have you developed such that no longer it's like more like water off a duck's back, and you're still going forward on your own path.
It's definitely a test. It's definitely like, every time I interact with people from the community and stuff, sometimes I get little pokes in the chest, like, let's see how you react.
Yeah.
Exactly. But maybe that's like how we're being up leveled because all the time, hopefully we're getting these opportunity. I mean,
that's what you have to see. Yeah, you have to see it as an opportunity. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And
Totally.
I just want to thank JT for reminding me that, Andrea does do trauma coaching with people. We do together as a couple as well. With the right clients, but she leads on that. And before I went on, I just want to say hello to Galatrax Bear, who's all in caps. And JT says, no need for the caps. I realize you're just displaying powerful love, brother. And then Beasticle says, shout out to CMG and RBB from Ether Cosmology. Cool. So, yeah, no, you're right. But it is, I mean, it's a test. And Alex, we are hopefully, like, if you had to stay, let's say you were a junior school teacher and you had to stay within the junior school environment always, then that would be the range that you would have played in this time. Fine. No, no. And I've said this over the years, is that, maybe like even with Flat Earth, there's got to be people who are stewards of that, and that's all they pound. Like take Veterans Affairs, for example. When I sort of started looking back at my military time, 10, 15 years ago, and I made contact with veterans kind of bodies, there are people who live that. They are, Royal Legion or whatever, British Legion, and they go every week and they this is their thing, and they do their thing for veterans and so on. It's like, that's awesome, It's not me, but there are people for whom, train spotters, who they'll just want to train spot, So I have no issue with that. There's people in the community who may stay at a particular school. And that's great. But for me, the journey of the Yellow Brick Road is to go, like, I've been in that tent, and I'm going to take the knowledge and what I've gained, the heart and the courage and the whatever, and I'm going to move on to the next phase or the next stage. And that's really where I've been all along with this journey, is that it has to be a progression. The Flat Earth is a gateway, and it has to be a progression of the self.
Absolutely. I mean, you're never going to hear another angry album out of me. I've got that out of my system. For me,
Aww.
Oh, damn. I wanted to hear the word fuck some more. I wanted to hear some more power chords. But no, like, you're right. Like, for me, every album is a progression, and I don't want to be, that album is what I was feeling at the time, and then the next album, the Flat Earth was what I was feeling at the time. I was awakening to all this information. It gave me this huge creative burst, and that's how these albums pop out of me. It's like giving birth. You go through 9 months of labor. You're like, what the fuck is going on? Then all of a sudden, there's this album, and then and the Black Sheep album was me being so frustrated with the world, and now I'm going to move on to the song. It's just like a journey. It's like, I don't think you're ever going to hear an angry. I'm trying to, like, say that was then, this is now, and tomorrow is going to be different, and continue walking that Yellow Brick Road, as you say.
Well, you heard it here first, folks, and I think that's beautiful, and I admire you for that. I wanted to offer that while you were talking, was that you may still be able to. Well, may still want to write contemporaneous content, but it's not necessary, like what's going on in the world.
Well, passion and anger are so close. They're really, in fact, they're the same energy, really, and it's the same as anxiety or fear and excitement. They're the same texture. But it's how the intention that they're presented. So I can imagine you still writing passionate content.
I mean, can you imagine what would happen if you put Santos in front of a microphone, and what would come? Now I would buy that album just out of curiosity.
Well, maybe you're misinterpreting him totally, and maybe he's actually turned to comedy. And actually, you're not getting.
He's funny. I must admit, he is hilarious to watch. But I don't know. He just seems filled with hate and anger, and it's just like it's very, very, very comedic to watch. But
well, I mean, I think this is the point. The point is that all these opportunities, life will keep on giving us opportunities to go, shit, I'm really angry about that. And what is that anger? Is it something that's I just need to process and express?
Yeah, maybe he's like you say, anger and he's incredibly passionate. No one can take that away from him. And that
No,
just
but
seems to manifest itself like it seems like anger, but it could be misconstrued as just
well,
sheer
no, I
passion.
think when we're projecting our anger, then it's from a place of a wound.
Yeah.
It's different when you're putting a boundary up. You know, anger
He's
is
been
well,
quite wounded in the past, hasn't he? I mean, there's a bit of
totally, and
history.
you know, and we can all accept that there's a whole spectrum of trauma. You know, people
Yeah.
have a whole spectrum of it, and for some people that's something that they will work through in this lifetime, and some they just won't.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. I think we all get given daily opportunities to be able to, and this is where the ego part comes in. You know, the ego is the one that is in charge when there's trauma, and actually it's the false ego, because it's not true, and that emotion that's there for Santos is probably very, very old, and it's just anybody that comes along, it's their fault. You know, there's always going to be another character that it's
Yeah.
to blame for how he
Maybe he's going through the equivalent of my musical Black Sheep album. He's just like expressing, he's just like shouting at the world, and hopefully he'll come out of that and start being a little bit more peaceful and loving. But
well, I mean, I hope that for everyone, really. I hope that's why I said earlier, you know, I think peace is that sense of peace, and whatever that is for a person, and the ability to create, you know, like you go out in the garden and create a garden or create music. I think we are co-creators with life, and when we're not peaceful, we're not doing that. In fact, we're probably in some sort of addictive behavior, and just consuming. We're just in this process of consuming rather than actually creating.
Yeah.
So I hope that for everyone, really, that we can all find peace. But some, you know, some it just won't happen in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
Tapper says, well, friend says, Martin Leaker just sent me a thumbs up. I don't know whether he was listening, but I don't know whether he's here now. But Tapper says, all life is a test for everyone. And you know, I think you need to be grateful for knowing, in a way, if you know that, then you can kind of characterize or see things as that. Ron Boston Bear says 100% Andrea. He's in agreement with what you were saying a little while ago. Squirrel says expansion, logical progression. JT also asked us to join him on Ether Cosmology Discord server. There's great conversations and connections there, which that you can find in the chat, the link to that. And then Tinfoil Cat says Santos is a psycho. He even sent an animal bestiality videos to FTFE, who even has that on their PC, FS. And he says end stage veganism will do that to you. I did see a video of Santos a few months ago where he was saying, I've got all these itches, like, oh no, it was twitches. I have these twitches and I can't stop myself from twitching. And I had to say, in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, there is important cholesterol and proteins in animal products that without which our body will misfire. Or, you know, that's my, I know obviously vegans are.
I have a different take on that.
But I was watching this man and thinking, wow, this guy has been giving people health advice and life advice and so on, and he's in a bad way. And of course, I want for him to work iron those things out for himself. I do want for that for him, but at the same time, it's like, if people, this is where it comes to, like, if we have these leaders and we're like, oh, everything that Santos says is right, and I'll just follow what he does and what have you, and it's like, but can you not see the evidence of his aging faster than he should, and his health being where it is, and his mental health not being so strong despite having his great knowledge? I would say, you know, we need to review sometimes.
Well, I think the body says no. And if when we don't deal with the metaphysical that's going on in our body, it'll eventually the body will. And I personally think that and that we are spending so much time in suppression, like holding on to life, you know, because we feel so vulnerable and unsafe, or we're trying to control everything, that we use all our life force just to survive. We're just surviving, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be blissful and joyful, and it doesn't mean we don't get to experience sadness and anger and all those other things, but on the whole, we're supposed to be, you know, having a good life. And yet most of us are just like, and I know the system leashes that. It offers that by the bucket loads. You know, most people are struggling today. But I do think that these are the opportunities for us to break free from that cage, which is the ego, I believe. And it's a massive commitment, and not for the faint-hearted, and incredibly uncomfortable and very painful.
Particularly when you know, like, the secret covenant, when you know that there is an agenda that has been set out a long time ago with a view to doing what it's doing, right? So it's like, and this is where I think we have to, in our own maturation, go from, I see what you're doing, I'm freaking Santos level angry with you for what you've been doing, but I've kind of moved through that to a, like, I know that if I keep staring at you like the tractors in Whitehall, if I keep throwing water mud at you, I am not going to get on my own path, and I am not going to elevate myself. So it's like you've seen the poison, but you're able to disengage from it.
Exactly.
Well, and turn your life from survival into thriving. You know, and that takes that, it's like inner nurture, like nourishing, and all those kind of things.
And many of us are still tied. You know, you had, your journey has given you maybe a little bit more freedoms than the average person who's still got the 9 to 5. And so I would speak to those people and say, like, even if you've still got the 9 to 5, you can still elevate your own being in this path. And who knows how that then opens up. Like, I want to say, coming to visit you in Spain would be very nice this year, but we're waiting for that door to open.
In Spain is what we're trying to say, but we don't know when.
I would love that. You're always welcome. And if you ever want to pull the trigger on that thing about Zizi, I see some potential there. Just let me know, because I do see some potential there. So the offer still stands. Let me know on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a journey. Well, yeah, you know, we'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, that's what it is, Alex. Is that you've seen the Secret Covenant. You know it better than most people, given, you know, how you studied it to write that song, but or to create that music. But you know, it's like, so you've seen that and you've called it and you've been outraged by it, and then it's like, okay, so how do I elevate myself up so that I'm no longer.
You must first express it, right? You must first.
You have to.
Yeah.
No, I say this, Andrew, all the time. I think it's so important, like street activism or whatever it is that your thing is, that you need to do in order to have said it, because evil prospers when good men do nothing and say nothing, you know. So I believe that we must go out and speak it, and we must be outraged by it. If you are not outraged by it, you're not alive, you know, because it's like, then, and you're not really looking at what it's done. But then when you come to this understanding of our divinity and our purpose, and the journey and the test, as Tabitha said, you know, then perhaps you're able to kind of go, okay, so I've seen that and I've worked out that.
Well, it's a grieving. It's a grieving, isn't it? And part of the grieving process is anger, you know, and you know, even if it's anger for the life that you didn't have, or you know, or what happened to you, or how you've been traumatized, or whatever it is, you know, it's part of the process. But it makes me think of that. Is it a Bible verse where it says, through the eye of the needle? What is the verse?
Easier to get a camel through the eye of the needle than it is to get the rich man to heaven. Is that it? That, I mean, obviously I understand that the eye of the needle was something to do with some, like, the village, the town wall would have like this small little archway, and the camel had to go on its knees in order to get through. But
I suppose what I'm trying to say is it's not supposed to be an easy journey, you know, where and like I said before, it's like generations and lifetimes of this world being like it is, and it's not like a quick fix, and yeah, it's definitely not for the faint-hearted, but it is possible for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
The cage that we're in, just by the way, the door's open.
Mm.
It's just we choose to stay in the cage because it's so familiar.
I see the door.
Mm.
I see the door. It's walking through it, right?
Mm.
But actually, you know what, Alex, I mean, I've known you, first time I met you in person was 2019. So it's coming up 6 years, my friend, since I first known you. And I do sense your own personal evolution, you know, and I applaud that. So, and you know, I don't think there's a right and wrong.
No, I don't
there's
think
no
right and
like,
wrong
oh,
necessarily
it needs to
exists.
be in 6 months, 6 years, 6 years.
No, it's a
So it's not
lifetime.
that, you know, yeah. And maybe we never, you know, even JT would say, you know, I can still up level from where I'm at. And you know, so, but I do applaud what I believe to be your own personal growth in this time that I've known you. And I don't mean that to like, oh, I'm fucking, you know, looking down. No, not at all. But just, I think that, and your music speaks that, and so, you know, fear not, but be excited by, you know, the possibilities that, you know, those doors we're going to keep walking through, and you know, it'll
Yeah, I'm
all.
definitely excited. I'm definitely excited for the future. I mean, I'm always gonna carry that trauma that lives in my psyche. I'm always gonna, you know, have a little bit of frustration with the world around me. Breaking free from that is going to be hard, but music is incredibly therapeutic to me. And
Mm.
like I say, I've done the angry albums, and now, and I'm gonna, you know, like I say, concentrate more on the solfeggio stuff. It's less censored. That's one part of it. So yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, it's exciting to see what comes next, and it is a journey, and I'm trying to humble myself. I wish I could be more a little bit like JT, but you know, I am quite. You know, I'm very working class. I do have anger. I do drink alcohol, as you know. I do have my coping mechanisms, and I'm trying to back away from a lot of that stuff. I'm trying to back away from the anger, trying to back away from the alcohol. Anyway, cheers, by the way. Trying to back away.
You know what? I really, really believe that we don't need to be like, we can use someone as an inspiration for our journey, but I just think that we're so different and unique, and you know, and to honor that uniqueness in ourselves and in each other, and that our journeys can be different. I think we all want the same thing, and that's peace and abundance and joy and connection. You know, we all want those fundamental things, but that gets expressed through Alex Michael and Andrea and Dave and Tapper and JT. That, you know, we're all doing that in so many different ways.
Squirrel sniper.
You know,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and I think also, like, you know what, like, say, I mean, I don't think of you. I don't think of you and booze. I mean, I know you enjoy a little drink here and there, but it's like the more we connect, the more we identify with, oh, this is me and this is what I do and what have you, then the more we're sort of shaming ourselves, or like have a sort of some kind of negative feedback loop about that. And then, you know, if the time comes for me to eat less chocolate, or maybe you to eat less, drink a little bit less alcohol, and that feels right to you, then that'll be what feels right to you, and you won't even like be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to cut myself down to half a bottle this night, or whatever. It'll just naturally become the, you know, a what feels to you. And I'm not to say what that number is. What feels to you? Well, this is when I do it. This is when I, you know, I feel good in myself. But I'm not necessarily doing it to manage like how pissed off I was about whatever. I'm doing it more because I'm just having a little bit of a chill and whatever. And I've never said, oh, well, because I don't drink alcohol, then I can't sit with mates who are drinking alcohol, kind of thing. It's the same as like if I smoke a joint, like, you know, a mate who's like, oh, no, I can't sit with you because you're smoking it. It's like, okay, then maybe we shouldn't sit with each other, but I shouldn't be judging
I
you.
remember once when you came over, and I think I got through almost a whole bottle of brandy, and you went, actually, Alex, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it all comes down to choice. You know, when we can choose, and I respect when I can respect someone else's choice, how they want to see the world, how they want to be in the world. I don't necessarily have to agree with it. It doesn't have, if it's not aligned with me, then I can choose not to have that person in my energetic space. But I can lovingly walk away and say that's just not for me. So I think the word choice for me has to be, and once we know we have choice, then we're no longer a victim, and then we no longer have to shame ourselves. It's like I'm choosing to have this glass of wine, and can I actually be okay with it? Or I'm choosing not to have it, or I'm choosing to do this, or choosing to
Like
that.
JT runs a triathlon, at the weekends just for fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But he
I
doesn't
don't
expect.
choose to do
And I
that.
don't choose. Yeah, but I understand the value in doing physical work, particularly as a man, but woman too. But doing physical work and doing something that is stimulating outdoors and all those things, they help me. You know what I mean? So I would offer that to other people to help them. And I think that, and you have an interesting, position in your world, which is that you can also help people be the hand up and go, okay, well, I was there, and I can give you a little hand up, one or two steps, and then someone else might take over and give you a few more hands up. You know what I mean? And your music is a journey that might even take people from the beginning to solfeggio and sitting and chilling and being so at peace with their world.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, I've
That's
matured.
the utter beauty of it, and that's why I continue
Yeah.
to do what I do, because I get
Yeah.
messages constantly with people saying your music helped me to achieve this, or I'm into this because of you, or this particular line made me look at this particular subject, or this particular chorus, or this particular song. And it's
Yeah.
wonderful that music can do that in a way that a 2 hour documentary can't. It's those short little snippets that really, really resonate with people, or a catchy chorus, or comedic, that sort of thing. And it's just so wonderful to know that people are on the journey with me. It's like I've left this back catalogue for people
Yeah.
to find and to ride that wave with me. So that's a beautiful thing. And if I can continue doing the solfeggio healing stuff and literally heal people with frequency, then they can be on that ride with me as well. And that's a beautiful thing as well.
I was actually, have you heard of a woman called Eileen McCusick? I think I'm
Yeah.
saying her name right. She does
Yeah.
the bioresonance stuff.
Right,
She
right.
actually posted on Instagram today a guy talking about 5G and what 5G is actually doing to our frequency.
Careful,
And
we're
one
on
of the
YouTube.
and one of the solutions or the remedies for that was to play solfeggio,
Right.
to bring things back into to sort of counterbalance what these frequencies are doing doing to our body, because our body's having to process. I mean, obviously the whole article, or what the guy was talking about was very conspiratorial in terms of what the potential of 5G could be, and we don't need to necessarily go into that, because I think that once you know stuff, then, and this is where I think you are now, once you know stuff, you can stand staring at that stuff, and it doesn't mean you won't be learning all the time, but you want to start creating a life that means you can bring everything back into balance, which is what the solfeggio, not only for other people, but for yourself, gives you. Because now you're doing something that's more peaceful. And obviously it's something that people can gain something from. And by the way, I think everybody has a medicine. Everybody. It might be just that you're really kind to your neighbor, or that you're just you're committed to being the best mother every day, or you look after 17 cats.
20 now, by the way.
20 cats.
20 cats.
Wow.
Or whatever it is, each of us have that medicine that we have to offer the world. Everybody, I truly believe everybody does.
So your
Yeah.
comment earlier on about Eye of the Needle, JT clarified that the Eye of the Needle was a passageway into a walled-off city. A rich man would have too many belongings to pass through without unloading first and reloading. In other words, material things are a burden. And So, and it's not only for me, it's not only the material things, because a lot of our ego, a lot of this idea of who we are and what we are, are the attachments that perhaps we need to shed on our way through the eye of the wall to the other side. But it doesn't have to be all done in one day, and it doesn't have to be like, well, if I haven't done it this week, then I'm knackered. No, I think and I think we're also like these. We are, in my view, we are the expression of the Most High. It intended to create us with the foibles and the things that we, you know what I mean. And we're meant to kind of come here and have a bit of fun and what have you.
Absolutely.
I think that's
more
important.
than just fun. I think we're supposed to be abundant,
Thrive, yeah.
whatever that is for you. I mean, for some people, it might be having some fancy car. I'm not like, oh, this is about money being in conscious, good, meaning hands, rather than and taking it out of the dark, ill-meaning hands. So for me, it's not about not having material stuff. It's about what that material stuff means, the attachment we have to it. I think that somehow I'm better than someone else, or I need that thing to feel good about myself. But yes, we're here
going to a concert, or going, doing having fun.
For dinner, or
life is meant, yeah. And I think that sometimes us in the Truther kind of community, we sort of like want to rip it all back down to the bare bones and what have you. Same with some strict religions, there's just, very little latitude for a person to kind of let their hair down, and be, a good person, but still having a little bit of what some would seem to be unacceptable fun. So,
well, on that note, I'm going to head to bed. It's almost past my bedtime. My bed is
it
nice
is
warm.
Well, and you're an hour. Are you an hour or 2 hours ahead of us?
An hour ahead, and I have an electric blanket on my bed that switches off at 10, and I get in nice and toasty and warm. So I don't know to
put your slippers on.
Yeah, no, it's actually not too bad. Today's been gorgeous, and we've got lovely weather today, so it's probably actually going to be too hot in bed. But it's been wonderful speaking to you, and I really do hope to catch up with you in Spain at some point again.
Well, it's on in our plans. We just have to get all the everything in a row so that
we always have such a blast when we're together.
Oh, we do, and we've got to have our dose of karaoke for sure. So.
Yeah. Shelley's mother and father were over in January for 3 weeks, and it was my birthday, and we went into the studio and we sung karaoke. So we had Shelley's mum and dad in there who are in their 70s. In fact, he's almost 80, and they were both up there singing and dancing. It was so joyful.
Awesome.
Karaoke is just such a beautiful thing.
It is.
It doesn't matter how bad you are. It's just that release.
Well,
I don't know about hilarious to me. Maybe Dave thinks I was laughing at him, but I was just seeing the joy of him going, "Don't pay the ferryman," and it's so beautiful to watch that kind of stuff.
Really, some of the most fun I've had in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I'll set it up, man, for sure, and
awesome.
We'll have a blast, man.
And we'll look forward to is it Solfeggio number 3? Is this number 3?
Number 3 is in the works. Yeah, I just finished the second song. I'm only 2 songs in. I finished the second one yesterday, and they're sounding beautiful. I'm getting better as a musician, better as a producer now, and I'm experimenting with different chords and different tunings. It just sounds gorgeous. I mean, when I love it, when it gives me goosebumps, and it brings I almost cry sometimes when I play it back, and that's when I know I've got something powerful. So I don't go to the studio until I go, oh my God, this is beautiful. So Solfeggio 3 is going to be awesome. It's probably going to be the last one. I don't know if I'm going to do any more than the trilogy. Otherwise, I'm just still doing the same thing. I want to evolve and do something else. We'll see. We'll see. There might be a Solfeggio 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Who knows? Because people seem to love that stuff. But yeah, I'm working on that at the moment, and I hope to release that in July 7/7.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Good date.
Awesome.
Well, that's awesome. And so thank you very much for your time, Alex. We really appreciate it. You've added, and I think the comment to kind of play you out on is one you've seen, but from Coviet Union Survivor, big up Conspiracy Music Guru. I often listen to your fantastic music, bruv. So
nice, bruv. Cheers, bruv. It must be UK, bruv, innit?
Yeah, well, we'll do it again, and please give your lovely Shelley wife a hug.
And your 20 cats.
And well, I was going to
I mean, to be honest with you, I cuddle the cats more than my wife, but that's another story. I'm working on it.
Take care.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
Yeah,
All the best.
bye.
Best love.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
So
Well,
if the people
there
are
you
still
go.
hanging in there, have we got anything else? Yeah, I mean, I'll just, if I can just do a little selling my services. So I've recently deepened my my
Offering.
my understanding and knowledge and of astrology. So as part of my coaching now, I will add in doing a reading of your chart, and depending on what it is, that the area that you are particularly looking for growth in, sometimes it's not, it's just life in general, then we can use that as a tool to help. And obviously I continue to do my body mind
Coaching, yeah.
So that's very much dealing with how we have created an identity based on our trauma, and how essentially our ego or our mind is who we think we are, and it's the dissolving of that and healing of that. And
If
then
that's of interest to you, then we, Andrea will normally give like
it's a free
a
discovery.
free discovery call.
So essentially a free coaching session, because it's 45 minutes long.
And then from there, you could agree to continue in a coaching container for a few months.
Yes, I prefer 6
months.
months, because it takes time. It's this coaching is not it's not a quick fix. I don't give any guarantees, because really it's up to the individual to commit to doing the really, really difficult sometimes work, but worth it. And then obviously Dave and I also do we do mentoring together, or Dave will do it individually, because he's also trained as a coach. And that can be anything from lifestyle to again astrology, or well-being. Obviously we have tried lots of modalities along the way in terms of our own health, and still are. As we find something else, we learn a little bit more, and so we offer that too. And then hopefully we'll get to do a bit more of this. I know we haven't done it for a while. We are also having to do a lot of our own inner work, and sometimes it feels more difficult to be in this kind of setting. But I know that we felt like we wanted to inject a little bit of love and community, and yeah, just.
There's Mr. Menso, an old time subscriber, so nice to see you still there. Yeah, no, it's been fun, and we'll do it again soon.
And we encourage you to join. I know for a lot of people it's a lot to be on the screen, but that if any of you want to pop in and have your say, or give you a little bit, or even just say hi or whatever, then obviously the Zoom link was in the chat, but you're welcome to join in. And then also if you'd like to have a call where it's not live, and that we can all come together and chat, we can also facilitate that too.
Yeah, someone was saying elusive paralysis. Why do I know that name? Saying, do you have advice on preparing to start a family and maintaining a healthy relationship? Sure.
Yes, well, that's a whole nother session. I think what I would say is that their energy at the moment is offering us, or inviting us, to grow and shift into new ways of being in relationship with each other, because our examples of that were very much the old paradigm. And what I would say is the relationships are some of the greatest spiritual areas of growth, because when you're in a relationship, it's intimacy. It doesn't have to be a male-female relationship. It can be friendship. But you it becomes intimate, and the word intimate is into me I see, and so that's a great opportunity for us to start to heal those parts. And then the same goes for parenting. Actually, there is, you know, we're learning all the time. I mean, we honestly, when Zizi came along to teach us how to parent in a more conscious way, and to learn, you know, to unlearn our own ways of that we've learned to parent.
Yeah. So hopefully that's useful. I just wanted to say a few live chat comments before we wrap it up. Tapper gave up booze in March 1st, 2020, because I live in a small village in Wales, and they're all brainwashed. I could not go to the pub and keep my mouth shut about the Jabberwocky. Jibby jab jab. Yeah, we'll give you. I mean, I don't know. That's the only place you can get booze, Tapper. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if you don't need it, that's good. So yeah, Mensa, I haven't seen him for a long time, so it's nice to see him pop in. And yeah, it was nice having Conspiracy Music Guru Alex Michael, and Run Boston Bay, JT had to stop off at his dad's, so he won't be able to join us today. But we're going to do this again, so we'll do it again in the maybe next Friday. You know, you know, we could, yeah. It's hard to kind of create firm, regular plans for something like this, given, you know, the frequent moving around and the lack of.
Well, it's not only the freaking moving around. It is also that I personally, but I think Jay will agree that the energy can sometimes feel quite big, and if you're processing that, which I think we all are, whether we're conscious of it or not, then sometimes, you know, being in this kind of setting doesn't always feel like the right time.
Well, yeah, and also when you move to a new house, I mean, you know, it takes a week or two before you settle in, and if you're only there for 2 weeks, then you really haven't a chance to kind of settle in.
But these are all excuses.
Yeah, there are excuses.
Actually,
yeah. So Tapper asked if we were going to go to the same festival we met at last year.
Sounds beautiful.
Sounds beautiful. We plan to.
Yeah. At the moment, we don't have any of the details. As far as I know, it's happening.
The festival is happening, but whether you know, Dave Weiss is going to sponsor another table, because I think that was a key part of us getting in there, was because we were going to the Flat Earth table. So we would like to, Tapper, and it'd be lovely to see you again, and of course others. And I won't go on about that right now. Tinfoil Cat says some people die when they retire because they have no purpose or passion. I think that's really sad. Yeah, and I think you were saying earlier on about having a hobby, or DJ Emo. Having a hobby in these times will keep one grounded. The ones that don't have hobbies are lost in the source. And DJ Emo, I think, was saying that he's been aware since 91, so 34 years of the circus. So you've been in it a long time. So, you know, well done. I do think that this is part of our challenge, is, you know, like, you know, up leveling, if I can use that crude term, you know, to go beyond because we're not material. Yes, we're in this material existence, but we're not these material avatars. You know, we are something far greater. And even though I had the DMT 10 years ago, I still struggle a bit to really see myself beyond the thing in the mirror.
Well, it's not in the material, it's the ego, to see yourself beyond the identity of who you think you are, which is a big part of the work I do. And it's really difficult because it's so entangled that you can't see it, that it's not who you are, because really we're just this conduit. We are we spoke about that earlier, didn't we? About being this conduit of of what wants to come through us,
Mm.
you know, through the expression of Andrea, but what wants to come through us. And of course, to be able to be that, we have to mind, body, soul, spirit. We have to be find stillness. We have to you know, have a clean vessel. We have to you know, whatever it is for you. I'm not going to say what those things
Well,
are.
I
because it's
mean,
all
using
very-
Alex as the kind of the point here is that if you still got those things, you know, that you were attached to before that are causing you anxiety or anger, then of course they're going to continue to have that hold over you. And so sometimes it is about releasing, putting that angry album out there and then releasing it so that you can not be dragged, be the baggage that stops you from getting through the eye of an evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's definitely a like I said, it's not for the faint-hearted, but clearly you're here and you took that step out on the journey. And yeah, I think it's just, you know, I think it could be an incredibly lonely
Yeah.
experience. So having the opportunity to talk to someone and not feel so alone, you know, have someone hold your hand even, is a great benefit. In fact, I think in these times having community is probably one of the most important things, and that's why it was I suppose a little upsetting that we were seeing what people felt was their community sort of implode, and maybe it was necessary, you know, that there were that everyone had to take a moment, or has to take some moment to sort of do some of their own inner work, and in the fullness of time that will all sort itself out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it can be a lonely place if, you know, when you're doing this work, and quite isolating.
Very isolating. You know, we've lost friends from our previous world. We don't resonate with all the folks who, you know, put nappies over their faces and all of that. It's hard. And Tapper can't even go to his local, he lives in a small village and can't even go to the local pub because the people have lost their minds.
Well,
So it can be.
well, I know, again, don't say he can't even, because then you know, he's choosing not to go because it doesn't resonate with him. The reason I'm saying that is because I really want to, I want us to emphasize choice. It may not be a comfortable choice.
But those things we had before.
It's a bit like we know people who had to choose to leave a job because they wouldn't do a procedure.
Yeah.
And so, but it was a choice. And not a comfortable one, but that it is a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. But the point is that, yeah, we end up feeling alone and sometimes bereft.
And maybe some of this journey is the journey of, you know, of self, and some of it has to be done on their own. There's a lot of energy, astrological energy shifting, I think, from April, May, June into we've got Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, which is all of the self. And Neptune is the energy of dissolving the ego. So there is going to be more of that that work ahead of us. So even more so to feel like you have people that you can turn to and that you're not alone. And Dave and I hope to be that for you if you choose.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll end it on that positive. When we're in this together kind of thing, you've got your own journey, but we can support each other where appropriate.
And I mean, Dave didn't talk a lot about the crazy stuff that's going on in the world.
Crazy stuff. It's going to be ripping for your attention.
Yeah. So it's even more important to be able to find that.
Yeah.
Because the chaos is going to get chaotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, friends.
Lots of love.
Much love, and be well.